Morning, everybody. Just wanted to come on, and it's been a while, so I just hope everyone's doing well. What I wanted to do is I wanted to post a quick little conversation here, pretty much off the cuff. So there'll be some stumbling, some muttering, some mumbling. Um, but I just know that recently, on a number of platforms, people have been getting messages or seeing things, odd things with their accounts on social media. Doesn't matter which one, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Um, they are getting messages about potential spam issues. They're getting seeing posts and comments that are out of character, out of sorts, and they seem to be coming from them. Um, what I'm going to, there's a million ways as to why this can happen, and that could be a conversation in itself with a number of different people having those conversations. But what I want to talk about is ways to mitigate those possibilities, those risks. I've posted a bunch of videos before, and I'm actually going to repost them here on the body of this post. Um, how to enable multi-form authentication, and I have focused on just a few platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, I believe Snapchat, and I can't remember if there's maybe Twitter. I don't have the list in front of me. I apologize. Should have been more prepared, but it is it's the few of those. It's the more common ones that I have out there right now. And so what happens is it's going to go through the step-by-step process on those platforms on how to set up multi-form authentication. And for those of you who may not be familiar, multi-form authentication is whether it's a code sent to your phone via text message is a six-digit code, or you have a password keeper that you can set up and it auto-generates a random six-digit code and it fills and you can gather it from there. It's basically that extra layer of authentication that says you are who you are because you're using a nearby device to authenticate that login. Um, it's helpful because a lot of times what happens if somebody is attempting to compromise your account, you will get notification that somebody's trying to log in. If you know you haven't tried, then you know to quickly go in and change your password because somebody's attempting to block or to compromise by logging in forcefully. Um, that is, while in itself the code is the extra layer, you have a secondary extra layer by seeing attempts of logins onto your account. So that's why two-form authentication is actually very helpful. I would stress that you put it anywhere. Basically, the way to go about it is roughly in the same area that you go to change your password. There's security settings, and it asks for either two-form authentication or multi-form authentication. It's known by two different names, but it's the same idea. I would definitely do it, especially if you're using Microsoft 365, if you use Canva or Shutterstock, any of those cloud services, even QuickBooks Online. If you can enable two-form authentication, well, you can, and I would recommend that you do. It's those extra layers that help. I say this to everybody: it's the onion approach. Cybersecurity is much like an onion. It's a layered approach. There is no one thing that can save you or protect you, but the more layers you have, the better protection you have. Um, at the same time, we are our weakest link. We're always going to click on something, whether we know it or not. Many of us are going to click on the inappropriate, the unsolicited, the solicited, whatever it is. And we introduce those types of things to ourselves sometimes too. It is mindful to be, again, mindful of what you click on. Um, I have family members who don't follow that rule, and I have had to bail them out many times. So I won't go into details there because that's a story in itself, which will be heard here. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get flack for even just beating around the bush of that story. So I'll leave the details to another time. But it's definitely something to keep in mind. To please always enable the two-form authentication. I would stress a password keeper if at all possible. A password keeper is definitely also something very helpful. Again, something maybe in a different conversation. But I would say that if for those who are able to do that or have their hands on a password keeper, please, please, please use it more often. Use the password generator to create more complex passwords, um, and then save them so you don't have to remember them. So that way you're not using the same one or two passwords everywhere. I would definitely go about that route if possible at all. But again, at the very least, start simple, start straightforward, enable that two-form, multi-form authentication inside any one of the accounts that you can. Your social media, Canva, Shutterstock, 365, even Google Workspace, Gmail. They all have capabilities in one way, shape, or form to enable the two-form multi-form authentication. Please go about doing so. It will help you reduce and limit the risks that you are potentially susceptible to online. It's I can't sit here and say it's the silver bullet that's going to protect you. There's always something new coming up. There's always another way. But please, that is a very um, introductory way to add a layer of cybersecurity to your cloud accounts, specifically again social media, but again all of them. Anything that is registered, usually anything that has a club or subscription that is accessed over the web, can have that two-form authentication. I strongly recommend that if you can do it as often as, or do that quickly as possible, and in turn helping yourself by changing your passwords as often as possible too. I know sometimes it can be a tedious task, and it's one that you don't want to do, but it is definitely one that is definitely worth doing. Um, yeah, the links for the posts will be below, and as I said, it's for Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, the others are pretty straightforward. You can follow the same path. Go to settings, security, or login preferences, and then you can find it from in there where it says enable two-form or multi-form authentication. Again, it could either be two-form authentication or multi-form authentication. Two different names, same different thing. So it does depend on the company. But if you see that, please enable it. Go through the process of enabling it. If you have your cell phone, provide your cell phone number so it sends the codes via text. Or if you have a password keeper, go about the ways of enabling it using your password manager or authenticator app. You may not have a password manager, you may just have an authenticator app, much like Google Authenticator or Windows Authenticator. You can do that as well, or even a number of other ones. But if you do have something like that, feel free to use that approach as well. If you have nothing, please make sure at the very least you're using it with with your text message approach. The other thing I would say is when you create that, if the company does provide you recovery codes, please keep those somewhere safe. I would record it because you don't get a second chance. That is your break glass in case of emergency. For whatever reason, your multi-form doesn't work. Maybe you've changed your phone or you changed your number and you forgot to change it. This is your break glass in case of emergency in order to make sure you can still log into your account. Not having that, you have to reach out to support and they help you, but it's just a unnecessary pain. So please enable multi-form authentication. Record the backup or recovery code if it's provided. Some don't, but some do. Please record it if possible, and take on the habit of changing your passwords as often as possible. And don't use the same one, especially if this is not the ideal way. But if you're going to recycle passwords, don't use the same one on important situations. Important ones like your banking or financials, please make sure those are unique. I do stress that unique ones should be used everywhere. I know people don't, that's not normally a habit. Habit is familiarity, to make it simple. So I would say, at least in the most important ones, please make sure those are unique and those are changed often. Social media is becoming one that requires often or frequent replacement and changing. So I would start putting that in the list of priority changes, because it is such a target and so much can be done there. So please, if you can do that. Other than that, again, description will have the links. Please feel free to view them. Any questions, feel free to reach out. And yeah, have a great day.